Welcome back. I'm hashtag Ethan here with Missus Snarky.
Howdy, y'all.
And it's more of Will I Ever Be Good Enough? And this chapter is going to be mainly Snarky because I am not a mother. I'm just a fur
Yes, you are.
mom. Well,
You're a fur mama.
yeah, but I don't think there's like psychological issues with Chimoko.
You don't.
I don't know. She can't tell me.
Does she meow a lot?
Yes, all the freaking time. I just don't know what she's
Mm.
saying. Well, most of the time it's
Hmm.
TREATS, which I can't say because she's under the desk in her little igloo right now.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
But why don't you shill yourself?
I'm terrible at this. Yeah, I'm Mrs. Snarky. I do stuff sometimes, and subscribe if you want. If you don't, whatever. Yay me!
All links are in the description, so check them out. Check out her art too on Redbubble. It's very, very good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, buy my art.
Yes.
That's mainly the thing. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a chapter aimed at me, and it hits home. It really does. I gotta admit, uh, because children don't come with a manual.
Yeah.
And so all that you have to work with is how you were raised, and when you were raised in a shitty environment, you have absolutely no guidepost to go by, and so it's really like an extra layer of anxiety when you are aware that you have no background that is really nurturing or anything else. So yeah, you're like, the pressure's on, and you make mistakes, and I made a lot of mistakes, but
I think
yeah,
everybody does though.
yeah, I mean,
it's like a spectrum of mistakes.
yeah, and a great rule of thumb, which I I want to get to the etymology or whatever where we get the saying rule of thumb in a minute. But a great rule of thumb, a great rule of thumb is that you're gonna fuck up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to, all you can do is your best and continue to examine your parenting strategies, read books, and talk to your kids, talk to them, ask them, how am I doing, do a review, which I do, and my kid goes, oh. but it does help, address any issues that you might be having. And so a lot of times, of course your kid's not going to be able to address some of the stuff that benefits them, like, um, let's just say you're a mother who's a real big pushover. They're not going to be like, you give me too much of what I want, and that's kind of a problem. They're not going to tell you that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to be aware of that as well, and that's one of the biggest problems. Spoiler that I have is being a pushover and being too worried about my kid. And back to the rule of thumb. Do you know where that comes from, Casey?
Yeah, isn't it the that you can only beat your wife with a stick that's no wider than your thumb?
Yep.
Yeah. It's a lovely thing. Really awesome. Thanks,
Mm-hmm.
history.
Yay, history. Well, if you didn't know that, now you know. And now, anytime you use that phrase, you're gonna vomit a little. Uh, so yeah, congratulations. Um,
Yeah, we're on chapter 9, Help, I'm Becoming My Mother, and this is Daughters as Mothers.
Yay! Which most daughters do become at some point, mostly. It's really, what's really good is, like, I was watching a documentary last night on wives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I learned the rule of thumb thing, and I was like, whoa. But yeah, it used to not be a choice. It used to be you had to be a mother and you had to be a wife, and you were wife. That was just, if you were female, you were wife. That was your role. That's what you had to do to survive. And one good thing about these times is, if you know that you're not ready to be a mother, you have options. And that's a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to point that out
What
at the
was it, the
beginning.
60s that birth control really started being
Yep.
a thing?
Yep. It was the 60s. Yay, 60s. Um, but yeah, it changed everything
Mm-hmm.
for women. It empowers us to, decide how we want to live our lives. And that's a really good thing, especially if you've been raised in an environment that was less than healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have a lot more options, and you can give yourself more time to heal from your past. But some of us, whoops, that were not quite so prepared, and we became mothers. And that's basically my story. I wanted to be a mother. So it wasn't like, oh no, this has ruined my life or whatever. Um, I always wanted to be a mom. I love my kids. I love being able to be one. That was my choice. And although I really had a lot of problems that I didn't recognize until I got older, and I just didn't think about it. I just thought, oh well, I'm going to be this way with my kids. I had decided how I was going to be with my kids, and yeah, it didn't work out. But yeah, we're going to talk about my mistakes and why I'm going to be saving up for therapy for my kids.
Yeah, that's the intro quote here. I keep praying that I'm saving for my children's college education and not for their therapy. Bonnie, who's
Yeah.
38.
See, the trick is you get them to therapy when they're teenagers, so you can go ahead and get that out of the way. That's what I'm doing. That's my strategy. They're already in the therapy. I did what I could. You're on your own. When you go to college, they got therapists there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can go to the therapist there. Two birds, one stone. Rule of thumb. Anyway. Help, I'm becoming my mother. Yikes. That, just the title.
Oh, just the thought of that just makes my skin crawl.
Ooh, yeah. It's, for me personally, it makes me vomit a little more than the rule of thumb thing. And I know that sounds weird, but it's just so personal for me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And she starts off, of course, Casey did the quote thing, so I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Giving birth to a child is a life-altering experience, and if you deny that, then you're full of shit. When your first child enters the world, you enter a new state of permanent parenthood and remain there forever. For most women, the experience of bearing a child is blessed with intoxicating excitement and anticipatory. I can talk. I can words good. Visions for the future. For daughters of narcissistic mothers, however, it can also be blighted by unrelenting fear and anxiety, which, like, the moment I found out I was pregnant the first time, I was so happy. I was so happy, but I was also like, holy shit, I'm pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. How am I going to deal with, raising and sculpting and being there for another human being? And in terms of sculpting, I mean like psychiatrically or psychologically sculpting, because modeling, mirroring, and, environment plays a lot in personality and psyche. So that was a lot of pressure. It's a lot of responsibility, and it weighed heavily upon me as I myself got heavier. Uh, so I was reflecting my inner psyche during that whole thing. I basically kind of just withdrew from everyone throughout my entire pregnancy, and I kind of shut down, I guess, because I was trying to analyze and deal with a lot of the stuff that really hit home, the reality of how I was raised.
Yeah.
And it was really scary. It was absolutely terrifying to me because I had this ideal of having a kid. It's kind of like when you fall in love, it's totally different than your idea of falling in love.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was kind of like that. You love the idea of love, but then when love actually hits you, it's a lot harder. There's a lot more responsibility than you anticipated.
Yeah, it's not a rom-com.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely not. So yeah, continuing on. The fear is of being like mother, of emotionally orphaning your children or harming them in some other way. You worry about not feeling good enough to do the job, whether because you carry that nagging belief around with you everywhere, or because you know you lack certain skills you will need as a parent. Perhaps you haven't yet fully come into your own identity. Whatever its origin, your fear is very real, and it sure as hell is. As I said before, I was not equipped. I was not given the and my mom was still like present in my life. She's very much a presence in my life at the time. And we had a lot of contentions as to, how one should rear a child. She was more, into the behavioralism kind of school of thought, which basically was you train your child to appease you and your schedule and what you want to do.
I hate that word when referring to children.
Yeah, you condition them to work around your needs. And that is the role of mother. And it just absolutely made me want to vomit. And she also had this idea that when a baby cries, you let it cry for a little while.
Yep, my mom did too.
And, they have to learn, quote unquote, self-soothing. That's bullshit.
You can't be there for them every time or they'll expect it.
Yeah. See, this is the conditioning thing.
But what you're doing is you're teaching, like, a baby cries because it has needs, right? It's not crying for the sake of crying. And what you're teaching them at that point is you can't rely on me for help.
Yeah.
Like, when you need help, I won't be there.
Yeah, and having that talk with her, because I didn't realize that this was her parenting method until I had a baby of my own and we were discussing it. And so I was like, damn, that explains a lot about me. So yeah, we definitely disagreed on that point, and we would argue about it. We would argue anytime the kid cried. It was, I'm gonna go in there. I'd be tired or whatever. And of course, she barely helped out, barely. And I would start to get up and go in there, check and see what she wanted, and Mom would be like, "Oh, don't you run to that baby every time they cry," and stuff like that. I'm like, "Mom, just leave me alone. Let me do it." "No, you're gonna be blah 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 blah." "Shut the fuck up, Mom. This is my kid. I'm gonna do it my way." But yeah, that was exhausting. to an already exhausted new mother.
Right, yeah. It's not an easy process. All of my sisters have kids, so I've seen this process so many times. And
Yeah.
I know for sure Jenny, because she's talked about worrying that she would become mom with her children, and she's not. She's a wonderful mother. And I'm sure my other sisters had worries too when it comes to that. But, like, I think going through that, it kind of teaches us what not to do. And I think she addresses this later, like, we shouldn't go to the complete opposite end, because that can cause problems too. But, like, it does kind of teach you, okay, this wasn't right. How can I make it in a way that it is right?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be addressing that portion of the book, because I totally did that. Yeah. Oops. But and I'll also go into how that impacted my kid and why they're a teenager in therapy. But I mean, you're gonna, like I said before, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's the trick is to recognize them and own it and work through it and do your best. That's all you can do. But yeah, I think it's important as a process to somehow break that cycle in one way or another. Whether it's, doing it through work, whether it's doing it through, motherhood, whether it's doing it just in relationships, just your daily life, how you approach it, it's important to break that cycle. And yeah. So this is just really difficult because it's like it's a daily, very personal thing. So yeah. It says here too, of course there's examples and everything, which I usually skip because I'm going over examples,
right, yeah.
My own example, and by the book, by the way. It's a good book. I think even if you just know someone who has been raised by a narcissist, or a narcissist, or
it can really help
helpful.
you understand, like, how our brains are shaped, like why we do the things we do.
Yes, definitely. So goes on to say, to have worries and fears about your parenting is normal, but the women that have been in these examples, and me, have concerns that are a few steps beyond those of most mothers to be. Of course, we strive to do the right thing for our children, and none of us wants to pass along our own undesirable legacy. Breaking the cycle is a challenge when you have no positive role model as a mother. Daughters of narcissistic mothers often feel as if we are blazing our own trail of love and raising our babies. So yeah, that's part of the scariness too. Is just not having a map and just going for it, taking the plunge, and that's always scary, no matter what the situation. But when it comes to trailblazing, it's especially difficult whenever you're talking about raising up a human being. Whenever you're responsible for another human being, it's a lot of weight on your shoulders.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So yeah, this is, I think, and I highlighted this portion just because, like, it's vital. So if you see yourself making mistakes in parenting, don't panic. You don't have to be afraid, even if you have learned or inherited some narcissistic parenting traits. This does not mean you are narcissistic. You can change. The best thing you can do for yourself and your family is to allow yourself the awareness of possible mistakes you can make or have made and work to correct them. And this chapter is designed specifically to look at pitfalls many of us face. So yeah, this is definitely one thing that is frustrating is, like, I know that I can change. And I'm sure there are a lot of parents out there that don't have that realization. So just note that you can change, you can work through it, but it's still like the past weigh heavily upon you. You will have guilt, you will have shame, you will have, taken steps that really, really hurt. And as a parent, you don't want to hurt your kid in any way, but when you have no roadmap and you have no idea what love is all about and boundaries are all about and things like that, it's really, you got to forgive yourself, and it's really difficult. It's difficult just to admit that you made a mistake, even to get to the point to where you've forgiven yourself. But as I said before, communication with your kid, with your child, your children, does help. They're not little automatons. They have their own.
brains.
They have their own individual selves, and this is a key point, I think, when you're trying to break the cycle of narcissism, is realizing they're their own person. They're independent. They're going to give you that fight, from the age of 2 onward. They're going to go through these phases where they're exercising their autonomy. They're telling you, I am me. I get to say no. I get to sneak a cookie.
Sure.
I get to do things that break your rules. And they're going to push that boundary. And you have to come to a point to where, you understand that they need that freedom, but at the same time, they need to understand that there are rules and that you're not, their partner in crime, so to speak. But yeah, it's really a difficult balance to reach.
I mean, hell, I even have guilt with my cat. Like, on days that I can't play with her, and I know she wants to play. Like, there are days where I'll push myself just because I don't want to feel guilty or shameful.
Yeah.
And that's a cat.
Yeah. Honestly, the guilt is the same, this is another life that's in your hands that you're responsible for, and that this life has needs. And it's been really difficult for me, because I have PTSD and I get bouts of depression, and I've had times in the past where I just couldn't get out of bed. I didn't even, breathing was a task. So, and it really pains me that my kids had to witness that, but there was nothing I could do about it.
Right.
So, yeah, the best thing that you can do is try to get the help that you need if you're suffering from depression and things like that, which I did. And it took time, still is sometimes, because I've injured my foot now. So there's not a whole lot that I could do. I can't go outside and play basketball, or anything like that. So you're gonna have challenging times like that you just have to work through and do your best. So here we go.
But yeah, the next section, warning, the risk of doing the opposite. If a daughter swings to the other end of the continuum and acts the opposite of her mother, she stands a good chance of creating the same dynamics that she's trying so hard to avoid. The key lies in finding a middle ground on which you can stand as a loving parent with your own values. Typically, when we want to change something, we think in black and white terms. Let's say you want to work on explosive anger and aggressive behavior. You switch to the opposite end of the emotional spectrum and start behaving in passive, meek, quiet, non-assertive ways. Being explosively angry means you are stuffing feelings until they explode, And being passive and non-assertive probably means you are not expressing your emotions either. Your goal is to go to the middle and become assertive, but it takes a while to get there.
Yeah, and that's one thing where, people with anger issues tend to make a mistake is just go, yeah, I don't want to explode. I'm just going to bear this grit my teeth and move on. What happens is you just stuff until
An even bigger explosion, yeah.
And yeah, it's just going to make the problem worse. So, yeah, this is my personal experience. I was absolutely neglected. Of course, I was talking about this whole conditioning thing my mom subscribed to, the B.F. Skinner bullshit. And if you're not familiar with B.F. Skinner, take a look at the history of psychology and learn about conditioning and all these things, and you will find a lot of horrific things and ideas came out of that philosophy of psychology. But at the same time, we learned from it. We learned that this is not this is not the pinnacle of psychological development.
We don't want to make children scared of stuffed animals.
Yeah, we don't. So we don't want to torture or neglect or anything like that.
Preferably, yeah.
Yeah, because negative reinforcement was also a thing, which negative reinforcement is just not doing anything. And so that's neglect when you're talking about raising a child. And that was definitely the philosophy of parenting that my mother had. And who could blame her? She was 60s 70s kid, and this was the hot new item at the time. And yeah, but then again, it had to have been evident at some point that I was having problems. So you're not off the hook, Mom. You're not off the hook. But yeah, so this neglect led me to a lot of thought in terms of what kind of mother I was going to be. And I was going to be basically just, I'm going to be there for my kids all the time. And I'm going to totally protect them from anything that could possibly harm them. What I got with that was a kid who was afraid of bugs, who literally, at one time, I shit you not, cried because she saw her shadow.
Oh no.
And was afraid of swinging by themselves, was afraid of going up a slide because you could fall. And yeah.
Oh boy.
So, and this was because I was so protective that, so oh, don't go over there because there's bees, or don't run off too far. And yeah, I did that whole polar opposite thing of neglect. I was just way too much of a helicopter parent. And this is stuff that we've had to work through. And it's my fault. I should have known not to be so dichotomous in my thinking. Nevertheless, that's what I did, because that's just where my intuition led me. You can't always follow your intuition when it comes to parenting. You have to sometimes go, hey, is this gonna really work out the way I feel it will? And yeah, so that was a struggle, still is a struggle. Also, I have this whole pushover thing. Like, I want a cookie, Mom. No, you can't have a cookie. Well, I want a cookie. I deserve a cookie. Haven't I been good today? And usually that's how it would, start is, have I been good, Mom? You want a cookie, don't you? Well, yes.
I have the same thing with Tomoko.
Yeah.
I'll say no because every time I'm in the kitchen, she's yelling at me for TREATS. But there are times where I'm like, no, not right now. You just got some, or if you're hungry, eat your food.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 seconds later, I'm like, all right, fine. I'll give it to
Yeah.
her.
It's just, you just feel like, oh my God. It was like the time that my mom didn't give me anything and ate the whole thing in front of me, and I just can't. Here.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the extremes that I think it's a good example of the extreme way that I messed up in terms of being a mom and having that boundary. And we're gonna also go into another one later. This is so fun. This is so great. Like it's easy to be like, my mom was such a bitch. Oh my God. But getting to the, well, what did you do as a mom?
You kind of like hide.
Yeah, but it's embarrassing. It really is. It's difficult to admit your mistakes, especially on YouTube, because holy shit, this place can be like you and it's like, please just shut the fuck up. Just let me, be honest and have a dialogue about these things without some kind of Twitter war or something. But yeah, middle ground is something that's difficult to find, especially when you've been raised in an extreme environment. You want to go to the other extreme because that seems comforting. It seems like the right thing to do. You don't want to offer the same environment to yourself, much less your kid. And some of the things she goes on to say that some of the traits of this can be like, some of the stuff my mom did wasn't bad. Okay, like some of it was, well, yeah, I did need to learn how to read, and I did need to read the classics, and I did need to push myself more, and those were good things that she did. Was she pushed me to excel. But there is a boundary, of course. Your kid also has to learn how to deal with failure in a healthy manner.
Yes.
And I don't mean
something I'm not equipped to do.
Yeah, it's difficult for anybody, much less somebody who has been taught that failure is death, essentially. And I don't mean, they made a mistake. No, they failed a class, or they had to restart, or they failed to, meet some kind of other goal. This is a thing. Making a mistake is forgetting to turn your homework. Failing is, oh shit, I got an F in this class. So there's a big difference. And I wanted to point that out because this was a conversation I had with, I forget who, but recently. So yeah, and you have to learn how to deal with that. Failure is going to happen. There are, I hate to say it, but there are multiple businesses right now that are failing. And it's of no fault of their own.
Yeah.
But it is a failure. Sometimes that's how that goes. Sometimes, you're not equipped to read at a certain level, or to write at a certain level, or to comprehend mathematics me at a certain level, right? So it's going to happen. It's inevitable, right? So you're not going to be good at everything. You're going to find something that you fail at. And that is life. That is life.
Yep.
It doesn't mean you're a total loser.
Right, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. What it means is you excel in some things and you don't at others. It's that simple. And even though it can feel like, the end of the world, it literally can. It's not. And you have to remind yourself and your kid, when this inevitable failure happens, that, hey, this is okay. You have other areas that you can focus on. And if you need help with this area, we can get you help. It's okay to ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another major thing. But yeah, I was an engulfing mother. And that was my failure. And it wasn't just a mistake either. It was me deciding to go with instinct as opposed to, what I knew to be the correct way of going about raising a kid. Because I knew about child development. I knew that they needed boundaries. I knew that it was important to say no to them so they can learn how to deal with rejection.
Mm.
I knew that it was important for them to learn independence. I knew these things. But I did not live by them. So I failed. Yay!
Yes, but you are also learning from it, and
Right.
you acknowledge it, and you strive to progress and do better. So
Yeah. Yep, I do. And it's really difficult. It's not easy. It's easier just to continue down the path that you're going on, but yeah, that's not a good idea. It's better to change. Okay, if you want to parent in different ways from your mother, remember that the middle ground you find ultimately needs to be based on your value system and beliefs, but it can indeed include some of your mother's beliefs. For instance, maybe you like a clean house, as did your mother. Yeah, I do. Hello. Or you plan to stay with the same religious denomination, or have strong beliefs about the importance of education. Yes, but you want to parent with a special ear for your child's emotional needs, which is likely very different from your mother. Yes, you don't completely throw the baby out with the bathwater. Oh, on the nose there. And just go with the total opposite direction with everything. We begin to see mistakes when we do this. Boy, do we ever. So when we moved to Iowa, Maddie had this apartment that was upstairs. And the stairs were like outside, and there were those like great stairs, with the big gaps. They're not like connected
oh
as they
yeah,
go up. They have the big gaps, and you can see through them and stuff. My child stood at the bottom of those stairs and cried. And not just cried, not just screaming, bloody murder at these stairs, for a good 5 minutes.
oh god. Just scared to go up.
Yeah. Yep. Scared to death of the stairs.
Oh boy.
And this was because I had engulfed, I had sheltered, I had not allowed her to explore things that were, slightly dangerous, I guess. And yeah, that's. Well, we'll talk about that in the book. If you had an engulfing mother, for instance, you may decide you will absolutely not be a smothering mother, but end up doing the opposite, so the child feels ignored on some level. And I think this is what happened to my mom. Because my granny was really, really loving and nurturing and there, and I think that my mom did the opposite. Yeah. So, it talks about different examples. Jamie tried too hard not to smother her daughter Chelsea, and on the first day of kindergarten, her little girl, who had just turned 5, was found crying in the classroom. She wanted her mother to sit with the class for a while, like some of the other parents. Jamie, bound and determined not to be an overprotective mom like her mother, had gone overboard the opposite way. So, yeah, there's a fine line between letting your child be independent and not fearless, but, pensive about their environment, what they can and can't do, and what is safe and what's not. And it's difficult to kind of sort that through when you've had, like I said, been raised in an extreme environment. If you had an ignoring mother, me, you may decide to give your child so much attention that you end up engulfing her. I'm so sorry. Rosalind found that she could not let her child alone. I had to be involved in everything she did and everywhere she went because I was so afraid she would think that I didn't care like I felt with my mother. When she was 12, she set me straight by telling me to get a life as she was sick of me. Yeah, that's kind of happening to me now. I don't know what to do. It's like I have a teenager that's like in their room, and I'm like wondering, what are they doing? Are they okay? Oh my god, who are they talking to? So I have to battle this, and on some level, it's like, because they have gotten in some trouble online before, and this was me doing the opposite and just letting them have complete independence. And like I honestly, y'all, I don't know what to do with a teenager. I don't have any clue. It is.
I don't know that anybody does. Like I've heard from completely normal parents that they're just like, fuck the teenage stage. Like,
oh my god, give me the terrible. Yeah, give me the terrible twos back. I can totally deal with that. Like crayon all over my wall. I don't care. At least I know you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll hand you the permanent marker, dude. Just don't get online, Oh my god, I'm so scared of the online stuff.
Oh, sure.
I watch a lot of like crime documentaries and stuff like that. So I'm just like, oh my god. And my headphones keep falling out because I've got the big ear things. Anyway, but yeah, I'm constantly trying to find that middle ground, and I'm not really sure where it is, especially now because we're at a whole new stage. It's just like when you're parenting, just when you think you figured it out, a new stage is coming. And you're like, what the fuck? I just figured this out. I just found, like a happy medium or whatever. And they're wanting to do something else. And I don't know what to do. And I'm just, fuck. Yeah. Cheers, y'all. I should have had some wine for this one. But it is like it's like the afternoon, so that's probably frowned upon.
Day drinking. Meh.
Yeah, day drinking. Just like a terrible mom would do, right? Anyways, so yeah, it's I can't even with the teenager thing. I can't even. I'm just kind of like, hey, if you want to talk, I'm here. Please be careful. There are murderers out there, but don't be too scared. Don't be too scared.
Right.
Because they're not all murderers. It's fine.
Right.
Like, I just.
Another example may be how you handle praising your child. You were never praised or encouraged, so you overdo it with your children. Tara created a situation where her daughter not only felt entitled, but also believed that she could never measure up. My 16-year-old broke down in tears the other day. I sat with her immediately and began to tell her all the wonderful things I could think of and how awesome she was. I found out that I was overpraising her, and she felt like she was a fake in trying to please me, and that she would never measure up to all the things I thought about her. Damn, I overdid it, I guess. I was trying to be so different from my mother. This is tricky business. Parenting is tough, and of course, none of us do it perfectly, but these stories show how easy it is to pass along a dysfunction when we think we're doing exactly the opposite of how we were reared.
Yep. And I think it's later on, I think, that she goes over something that really hit me, which is they don't go by what you say so much as what you present in your everyday life. So it's mirroring, it's modeling that children are more likely to pick up on. So if you feel like shit, the kid's gonna feel like shit.
Right.
That's just how it goes. And it's really tough, especially when you're trying to get over this shit with your mom, your narcissistic mom, trying to get over, all the violence and shit of your past, like me, PTSD, major depression, all this stuff. So, when you're struggling to even just get through your day, your child sees it. And it sucks because it really gets embedded deeper than, the things that you tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can say, look, this isn't you. This is mommy's past. This is, stuff that I've had to deal with. But they tend to mimic that behavior anyway. So it's really tough. So I guess it's fitting that I read this part because this is what I think this is the part I was talking about. Modeling the not so good enough message. Sometimes we are able to find that middle ground, and what we do with our children reflects that. If you succeeded in this, give yourself credit. You deserve lots of it. One pitfall to finding middle ground, however, is the internal belief that we ourselves are not good enough. If you carry this unhealthy message within yourself, you are most likely modeling it for your children. I repeat, if you carry this unhealthy message within yourself, you're most likely modeling it for your children. It weighs heavily upon the soul that doesn't exist. You will show them inadvertently through your behavior that you feel unworthy, and they will grow to feel the same way about themselves. This can happen even if you don't really believe it or say it to them. Remember, children learn more through what they see in us rather than what we tell them. If you model yourself a woman who does not take good care of herself or who stays in unhealthy relationships, feeling you don't deserve better, or you do not pursue your own passions, don't be surprised if you see the same in your children. Similarly, if you set boundaries and stand up for yourself, your children most likely will too. This is the best reason there is to embrace recovery. So, yeah, unfortunately, this is a reality, and hopefully my kid doesn't get mad at me for talking about this, but this is a sentiment that they've expressed to me too, is that they don't feel like they're good enough. Even though I tell them, look, you're smart, you're talented, you are able to do all these wonderful things, and you're focusing on this one thing that you need help with, and that's okay to need help once in a while. It doesn't mean you're not worth anything. And it really breaks my heart that that's the message that I had been acting out throughout these years, was that burden that I carry, that voice in my head that just won't shut up, that won't stop telling me you're never going to be good enough, you're always going to be a loser, you're always going to fail no matter what you do, etc., etc. This was the message I sent. And it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really sucks. And coming to that realization was difficult. It still is. But it's the reality. And I can't sweep it under the rug. I have to deal with it, and we are dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to come from me. I have to say, yes, I have good art. I'm proud of my art. I am proud of the fact that I'm always striving to learn more things. I'm proud of the fact that I've got the gold roses at Animal Crossing. Thank you very much. I'm proud that I have the ability to have compassion and to be there for my friends, and I do have traits that I'm proud of.
Yes.
And
you're always there.
I have to, and it's really tough. It's really tough even to receive praise, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that little girl that was like, "Oh, you're faking."
Yeah.
And
the imposter syndrome kicks in.
yeah, it really does. And yeah, but that's, as she said, the best reason there is to embrace recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So even if your kids are grown, you still have time. You still have the ability to speak with them and tell them, and to work through these issues, and hopefully they embrace recovery as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
damn it. I'm not gonna cry.
Right.
Oh.
So the next section, how do you spell empathy? Many daughters who didn't get empathy from their mothers do not know how to give it to their children. The ability to empathize is the most important parenting skill there is. Nothing makes you feel more real, heard, and understood than someone who empathizes with you in a time of need. If this skill was neither modeled nor taught well in your family of origin, you will need to work to develop it. Shay, a pensive, insightful, and highly educated woman who was raised by an ignoring narcissistic mother, has 4 children now and a loving husband. They were all in my office for family therapy to learn about healthy communication following a suicide in their extended family that had frightened them all. Every single family member present that day was committed, but Shay was particularly worried. Aware of her unmet childhood needs with her mother, she didn't have a clue how to empathize with her own children, who told her in session that she sucked at this. Shay spent many months working on developing the skill of expressing empathy. Cami, 45, came to therapy to increase her empathy for her 17-year-old daughter, who was pregnant. She realized she was having trouble being there for her child. An insightful, intelligent woman raised by an image-oriented narcissistic mother, Cami found herself overly concerned about what her friends and family would think. She was not narcissistic, was aware of her childhood issues, but still couldn't shake some of her ingrained messages. She seemed to talk to me from 2 sides of her being. One side was angry, humiliated, and shamed by her daughter's actions, and the other side was humane and loving and wanted to do right by her. She clearly did the right thing in seeking assistance in how to let her own issues rest and tune into her daughter's needs at that time. Today, Cami is a proud grandmother, and her daughter speaks highly of her mother's nurturing ability.
Yay!
Right? It's possible.
It's possible. That makes me happy. Honestly, like, in terms of empathy, I've never had much of an issue with that. As that daughter who went the total opposite way, I have always expressed how important it is to be there for other people and to try to understand and put yourself in another's shoes, which, depending upon their stage of development, the kid can't really understand it, at first, but it's kind of one of those things that develop in time.
Sure.
Because your awareness is can only go so far when you're young. So there's that. And but when it comes to how you personally act as a mother to your kid in terms of, understanding what they're going through, that's never been an issue for me. I've always been like, yeah, I get it. And let's talk about this and let's work through it and let's try to find a solution. And it's okay to feel that way and it's perfectly valid and yada yada. I've always been that way. So yay, I'm not a complete failure. But in some ways I think maybe I've gone too far with it. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. Can't tell at this point. I'm just hoping that they're not like a pushover like me. Because that's a real issue when you're too empathetic.
Right.
And
you care more about others than yourself.
Yeah. That's a problem. And that also needs to be addressed. So yay, middle ground is totally like the theme of this one. Then there's the we're gonna go to we live just in a society of the chapter. My kid, the honor student. How many of these bumper stickers have we seen? There are the bumper stickers that say my kid, or where are the bumper stickers that say my kid has a big heart, my kid is honest, my kid is kind? A significant problem I see in my practice today is too many parents unable or unwilling to tune in to who their child is as a person. As the daughter of a narcissistic mother, you should beware of this major pitfall. Your child's accomplishments are not who your child is. Abby, 47, came into a therapy session worried about her son, who was the quarterback on the high school football team, first chair in an honors band, an honor student, and a great-looking kid to boot. Eventually, she reported that this great kid had just been arrested and was in juvenile detention for pointing a gun at another student at a lakeside party over a weekend. When she went to visit him in jail, he was crying and told her that he felt too much pressure to succeed in everything and always felt he had to be the best. He wanted to prove that he was just a normal guy who got in trouble sometimes. While this kind of getting in trouble was over the edge, Abby learned to see past the accomplishments and into her son's anxieties and fears. So yeah, getting back to the theme, which is basically you're okay as you are. You have value as a human being, not because of what you do, but because of who you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an important message. It also goes on, Dory was worried about her daughter because the 14-year-old had just been picked up for shoplifting. How can this kid, who's a total star in her music abilities, be doing such a stupid thing as shoplifting? She has a recital on Friday. How could she? Obviously, Dory should have been thinking more along the lines of, what is going on with my daughter's feelings? What does she feel she is missing? Does she not feel worthy? There has to be a reason that she is sabotaging her talent, and I want to find out why. At the time, Dory had a way to go in learning empathy. Yep. That's tough. It's tough stuff. And, this is not often talked about, but children will act out in very extreme ways like this. They will steal something. They will do something that's uh, to get your attention. That is, and a lot of people, a lot of parents, when I hear them talk about this, it's like, oh, they're just wanting to get your attention. Don't allow them that. And that goes along the same lines that the B.F. Skinner behavioralist movement is, well, they're trying to get something from me. I'm going to condition that behavior out of them. And that doesn't work because you're not dealing with a behavior. You're dealing with feelings. And the feelings will act out in the behavior. The behavior is a symptom. It's not the cause. So, you can't just, like if someone has chicken pox, you can't just treat one of the poxes and expect the whole illness to go away. It's a viral infection, so really there's not much you can do. But at the same time, it does help to recognize that, hey, this is chicken pox. It's not just one sore that we're dealing with. It's a symptom. So, yeah, you can treat the fever, but you're still gonna probably need antibiotics if you have a bacterial infection. So, which means getting to the bottom of these feelings. What is this child feeling, and what needs to be nurtured, what needs to be dealt with? And that's anyone, even adults do this. Adults engage in sabotaging behavior a lot. Okay? We are children in adult suits. We still do this stuff. It's patterns of behaviors. So, it helps to get to the core of it. And usually something is not being met in their life, whether it's from other people or themselves. And usually, when we're talking about kid who is still under the care of parents, they're looking to the parents for something. So it's our job as parents to help them through that, and to help them, to give them some kind of coping strategy that will last them throughout their lives. Because I like to look at my job as a mother is to get my children grown up and ready and prepared and strong enough to deal with being an adult. And holy shit, that is a lot. It's not like a mouthful, but holy shit, it takes up everything. So, yeah, coping strategies are very important. And if you're going through recovery, the good thing about recovery is that you're learning these coping strategies and you can pass them on to your kids. And that's one thing that I'm really grateful for when it comes to some of the shit that I've been through. It's like, well, I have PTSD, but yay, I've learned about CBT. So that's a bonus. And I know it sounds weird, and hey, maybe it is, but I'm looking at the good stuff and the bad stuff, but picking up on what I can use, learning from it. Anyway.
The next section, those messy things called feelings. It's easy to understand the need for authenticity until your own child shows authentic feelings and you don't like what she is saying or feeling. This is particularly difficult if she expresses negative feelings about you. Allowing authenticity in children will be discussed more in part 3, but here are some examples of how not allowing your child to be authentic can get you in trouble as a parent. Alexis, who had been taught as a child not to deal with authentic feelings, has 2 daughters, both of whom are now involved in drugs. She came to therapy asking for help without having ever talked to her daughters about this issue. I asked her if she had confronted the drug abuse, and she told me, "Oh, no, what would I say to them? Do I really want to know?" Fiona's 13-year-old daughter recently informed her that she had been sexually abused. The girl had been afraid to tell her mother the real story because the perpetrator was a family member. Fiona came to therapy not wanting to believe her daughter and to shove the whole issue under the rug. I worked with Fiona so that she could listen to her little girl and get to the bottom of what had happened to her. lack of authenticity can truly be dangerous.
Yeah, it can. And to some degree, like, children will try to manipulate you, right? And it does happen. It just does. It's, they'll lie to you. They learn at an early age to lie to get their way and things like that. So it's understandable that a lot of parents out there, whenever their kid comes to them and tells them, hey, I have a problem with you, that you instantly jump to, they're trying to manipulate me.
Mm-hmm.
However, I suggest that when they're doing this, that you actually analyze it and talk to them about it anyway. Just put that in the back of your mind for a little while and really just listen and pause your judgment for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, don't just talk to them once, talk to them a few times. If you're still confused, if you're still having some problems with whatever it is they're conveying to you, but never close the door on discussion. They need to come to you to talk about something that's difficult. You need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be prepared to hear some tough things sometimes. Because this is a life. This is an experience of another human being. Sometimes it helps to kind of have the empathy thing,
Mm-hmm.
What if it were me coming to my mother saying this? What would I need? And flying off the handle is definitely not it.
Mm-hmm.
Denial is not it. Just being honest and being an ear and really looking at the issue that's being brought before you as seriously as possible. Which is really difficult to do because, like I said, children do try to manipulate you. They do. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to, especially like abuse and things like that, it's really, really tough. Really tough. And it's the same thing with the drugs. I just, I can't imagine not being. I can't imagine being a parent who finds out that their kid does drugs and then not asking them about it. I just can't.
Yeah.
I just would be like, why are you doing this? That's just, where I go. I can't believe that it didn't dawn on this person. But, I mean, that's their experience. I can't empathize with that particularly. But that's one thing that kind of, like, when I was reading this, it just stumped me. I was like, how can you not? What? But still, I mean, I'm coming to terms with that. But the abuse thing really hit home.
Mm-hmm.
Really hit home because, like, oh, I can't imagine. Like, I asked my kid all the time, have you ever experienced this?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about consent, all these different things. And no, Mom, I just constantly worry about this. And yeah, because I know what it's like to be a survivor, and it just scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I know what y'all are gonna say. You're being a helicopter again. Like, I'm working on it. Okay, I haven't asked in a while, so. But yeah, definitely deal with the feelings. Definitely deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my kids, both of them, if you have to talk, come to me. I will listen. I'm not going to, judge you on it. I'm not gonna deny it. I'm gonna listen. You can tell me anything. And I think that's one really important role of the mother, is being that safe space to come to when things are going so bad. You know, even if you're an adult, you need to be able to call your mama and her to be like, I'm listening. I'm here for you. What do you need? What can I do? That's what you need. That's what a mom does. God damn it. So, and that's why I think it's like we were talking in a previous episode about how you should respect mom. Well, if you have a mom that does that, then yeah, she deserves your respect, because that's what a mama is. Egg donors don't do that.
Yeah.
Thanks for the egg.
Right.
So, yeah. Oh, and I've had this issue too that we're about to discuss. My daughter, the friend. And my mom had the same problem, but I would say that my mom took it to a whole new level with, you know, as I said in the previous episode, buying me cigarettes and, you know, just doing things like that. I haven't gone that far. That's pretty damn far. But yeah. You may be thinking, I want to have my daughter as a friend. I crave this closeness. I didn't have this with my mother. Please don't tell me this is wrong. What is the right way? Even when your daughter becomes an adult, you must still be the mother. You will continue to have parenting duties and need to provide guidance, empathy, and understanding. It is not your daughter's job to give that to you. Now that's really difficult, especially if you are, as she said, craving that. Yeah, so here's an example. Jan, a mother of three girls, brought her oldest two to therapy because they were displaying signs of anger that she didn't understand. I asked Jan to leave the room so I could sit with the girls and chat. As soon as Jan left my office, the girls both made a disgusting gesture toward her. I knew that we were in for some kind of mother-daughter train wreck. I had expected the girls were probably not getting cell phones, cars, clothes, or freedom that they wanted, but the issue was very different. They both told me that Jan expected them to help her get over her depression, and they were totally exasperated and feeling helpless. They reported that each day, when they came home from school, they sat with Mother and listened to her sadness, crying, and desperation, and they were sick of it. Jan had grown up with a psychosomatic narcissistic mother, so she knew better, but she was falling into a similar pattern with her children, expecting them to take care of her emotionally. Luckily, the situation was easily turned around, and Jan went back to psychotherapy. However, one can see that even with education and awareness, adult daughters of narcissistic mothers can unwittingly fall into the legacy of narcissistic behaviors. And like I said before, I had suffered with depression and things like that, but I didn't go to this extreme. I didn't, like, you know, sit there and expect my kids to be my therapists and stuff. That just didn't seem right. But I would kind of like push them away and be like, no, I'm fine. Just watch cartoons or, you know, do something fun. And, you know, mommy's just tired, or, you know, I wasn't really open with them about it. But in terms of allowing them to do certain things, like, and I still do this, I'm a pushover. My kid has a rule that they're not supposed to eat in the living room. Well, from time to time, I break that rule. It's not good. Dang, they eat popcorn and stuff in there when we're watching TV. And really, it's like, maybe I should enforce the rule. I don't know. But I feel like we're having fun, we're watching TV. Like, if they spill something, what's the big deal? So, I don't know. But that's kind of a struggle that I'm still having, and I still need to work on. And Maddie definitely gets on to me about it. But I think this might apply to the whole daughter friend mother thing that I'm not keeping that boundary. So I'm making a mistake in terms of that. This is the rule, and I'm like, oh, you're my friend. It's cool, But we're having fun. We're doing, something we enjoy, and I think a lot of it does come from the feelings, that I have. Like, if we're watching something and we're enjoying, like we've been watching Glee, like binging, pretty much every morning watching Glee, and they'll be like, hey, can I have some popcorn? And I don't want to like mess up the mood by saying no.
Right, yeah.
It's so hard. And it's like, I just want to enjoy this because this is something that I didn't have. Yeah, I need to work on that. So, but I'm not buying them cigarettes and stuff.
Right,
so
yeah, no.
That's good, I guess. It's progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Y'all tell me what you think. Should I break the popcorn rule? I don't know.
We eat in the living room all the time, so I'm not one to ask.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not 14 either.
No.
Like, and honestly, like, messiest 14-year-old I've ever seen. But it's like, I don't want to argue sometimes. Sometimes it's like, I don't know. I know what Maddie's gonna say. Maddie's gonna be like, you pushover. You're just breaking the rules. But come on, Maddie. Come on.
The next part, take care of yourself, but stay connected to others. Although healthy self-care is central to the recovery of daughters of narcissistic mothers, self-care does not mean becoming self-absorbed. Taking care of yourself does not mean tuning out others' feelings. I've seen daughters make the mistake of misinterpreting self-care to mean that they should focus on themselves in unhealthy ways, even after they saw how harmful their mother's belief was that everything was all about mom. Marnie had 3 children at home, but decided that instead of giving those children the time and attention they needed, her recovery mission was to take care of herself with luxurious clothing, fancy trips, and expensive jewelry. When her kids were brought to therapy for acting out and getting in trouble with the law, she was on the beach somewhere getting a nice suntan. The kids were angry and also surprised because this was not typical behavior. Again, Marnie knew better and had done some of her own recovery work, but had not understood this part very well. Family therapy was effective because as soon as she heard how her children were feeling, she set about to truly understand what she needed to do for herself and them. Healthy self-care means finding fulfillment so that you have energy, love, and empathy for others. Finding the middle ground means realizing that it is not an either-or situation. You are neither full of self nor drained of self. Part 3 will teach you how to do this. Having established an understanding of how maternal narcissism creates certain negative dynamics in the mother-daughter relationship that affects daughters' lives as adults, we are now ready to step onto the path to recovery.
I'm just gonna say, I'm judging you, Marnie. Totally judging you right now. And it's a weird name, first of all. I'm sorry you have that name, but holy shit, did you really have to go on a vacay?
Right.
But yeah, I do want to say too that this is the part where I stopped reading the book. I have not gone into part 3 yet because basically I've been trying to absorb what I've read so far, right? And getting kind of prepared to go on the ending the legacy journey, which is going to be completely fresh for me. So there's that. And of course you've read it, right? Yeah, so you're totally ready for this. I'm not.
Well, there's ready and then there's ready. Like, yeah, I've read it, and the recovery steps, but I'm not done with it. I think it's a lifelong thing, and every time I read this book, this is time number 3, I think, I recognize something new to work on, or I recognize something more that I can do to work on myself. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's very tough.
Yeah, these next episodes are going to be like, I'm going to have a tissue box here. Ready.
Yep.
And I know that, that's another good reason to go ahead and just buy this book is, if you're still gaining something from it each time you read it, then it's good to have in your library. It's good to deal with it. And I agree. Like you said, it's a lifelong recovery that we're gonna go along that journey together. And it's gonna be tough, but we're gonna do it. We're doing it. Yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah, this is the hardest part. Like, yeah, the realization of everything is hard hitting, especially the things you had absolutely no idea you were doing, or you didn't think they were wrong, or you couldn't see how they could be wrong. But then taking the steps to change, I mean, changing yourself is a big deal. And it's hard to do, especially with something that was ingrained for me for 25 years.
Yeah. It's the toughest thing to get over is years of conditioning. But nonetheless, that's what it is. It's a conditioned pattern of behavior. And at the heart of it are feelings. There are core beliefs, there are feelings, and they're very real and they're very valid. And this is going to be tough, but it's going to be a worthwhile journey, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely worthwhile.
To kind of cover what she was talking about in terms of self-care, it's really important. As we said before, children learn more from modeling and mirroring than they do from what you say. So if you're just saying, hey, brush your teeth, and they don't see you ever brush your teeth, then you're going to have a problem. So definitely engage in things that are healthy for you. Let them see you enjoying a moment. Let them see you read. Let them see you exercise. I fail at that. I fail at a lot of things, but but yeah, if they see you engaging in healthy behaviors, they will model it. If they see you running away and taking a fucking vacation when your responsibilities are behind you, they're gonna definitely act out, and they're gonna think that that's how you deal with problems.
Right.
Is you run away and you buy yourself jewelry. Marnie, what the fuck? So still judging Marnie. But yeah, it's really important to, because self-care is, like I said, we're training young adults to take care of themselves and to be independent. And self-care is a major part of that. You gotta brush your teeth, you gotta wash your butt. These are things, you have to be able to get out of bed every day and go and take care of your responsibilities as an adult. And so it's our privilege / duty to train them for that. And to give them healthy coping mechanisms to deal with this inevitable stress that is being an adult. Holy fuck, there's a lot of it.
Yeah, adulting is hard.
Can I just go back to being a kid? No.
See, I have mixed feelings about that, because it's like, if I could go back and have like a regular childhood and be a kid again, sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Right.
But going back to mom, no. You couldn't pay me enough.
I want a mom that'll let me eat popcorn in the living room. Oh, jeez. But yeah, I can't help but over and over to wonder, what I would have turned out, how I would have turned out, rather, if I had nurturing, loving parents. Like, you can't help but feel like major resentment
Oh yeah,
Trust me.
it's huge.
Yeah, the resentment is real. Like, who knows? I could have had a PhD.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I don't know. But holy shit, I sure as fuck didn't have the foundation that I needed to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's up to me to find ways to be successful on my own with no map, with no idea. And it's a struggle. It's a real struggle. Anyways, that's going to be, I think, a major part of, at least I'm guessing, the ending the legacy thing, is constructing your own roadmap
Mm-hmm.
to.
Yeah, and there's a part where that I had a real problem with, and still do, where she wants you to sit down and imagine that mom that you wanted, that would be there for you, and to even be that little girl, and say what you need to say, and then cope with the fact that you don't have that or you didn't have that. And it was hard for me to go back and kind of go over my feelings and be honest about that.
Oh. So that seems a lot like the inner child practices.
Yep.
Which I have done some of that work before. So, and yeah, it's very tough,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also very helpful. It sounds silly when like you're just discussing it, what the dynamics are, but when you're actually going through that, it's, oh god.
Oh yeah,
It's
like
powerful.
as an exercise and just describing what it is, people don't think it'll be that big of a deal, but as soon as you're in that position,
Yeah.
it's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely a whole other story. Good place to end.
Why don't you shill yourself if you would like?
I could have had a PhD. Missus Snarky. No, just who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I have a channel, and at some point I will be putting videos back on it, and also bringing back What's Happening, because I know everybody misses that. Yeah, I totally miss the show. I miss hanging out with y'all and stuff. It's just been like, I'm gonna be real, it's been stressful just watching the news.
Mm-hmm.
Just, so covering the news and covering the stuff, I feel like it would do more harm than it would good, because a lot of what I want to do on my channel is help people.
Right.
And it
yeah.
doesn't seem like it's very helpful to get up there and, well, we got more dead people. It just doesn't
Right.
seem. So I've been kind of putting it on the shelf for a while. Hopefully we'll have some other things that we can discuss, and some fun and cute pictures and things like that to help get us through the muck of reality. But yeah, soon, I promise. But yeah, subscribe if you like cute animals and politics.
And philosophy.
And philosophy, yes, different things. Because I mean, I have like I have you, I have a few other people that, each person brings their own story, their own voice, their own opinions, and I really like that dynamic, and it's good. It's a good thing, and so I'm really proud of that show, and I can't wait, really. But I just haven't been in the headspace really. It's been
no, me neither.
Been really depressing. We've been hitting all these quote unquote milestones that, I mean, I just can't even. I can't. It's so depressing what we're going through as a world. The whole world is going through right now. So yeah, and hopefully I also have a video in the works, and that talks about cognitive pitfalls and things. So look forward to that. And buy my art. See, I have art. I do the arts. And I'm proud of my arts. I need to do more of them. But, one day at a time. I've been one day at a time for a while. So we'll get through this, y'all. We'll get through this.
But yeah, so that's this week. And thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to stick around for the bloopers.
Yeah. Definitely. Cover it up, y'all. Cover it up.
Okay. I still don't know what's going on, so I'll find out when I edit on Sunday.
You will. It's a long story.
Oh, good. I'll look forward to it then.
Hey, at least we had something to laugh about.
We need that.
It's so difficult to find ways to put in a joke. So I like to joke around, and it's so difficult to joke about this stuff. But still, fuck you, Marnie. Fuck you. Sorry, Marnie, but fuck you. That's pretty much how I feel right now. Anyway.
But yeah, as Snarky mentioned, life can be shit, and it kind of is right now. But let's get through it together. Keep hanging in there with hashtag and Missus Snarky.
Yay! Bye!
Bye! Mwah. Test recording.
Oh my god. We're doing the records. I'm scared. There's gonna be a record.
It's gonna be alright.
This is on the record.
Yes, it's on the record.
Your terrible hair day is on the record.
You look fine.
Definitely exacerbated by, having another... Yay! Yay! That is great.
Well, it's now official.
Yeah, this broadcast has been officially blessed by UPS.
Did you hear Greg?
Yes.
Got him.
But yeah.
Now I push it for realsies.
Realsies?
For realsies.
Oh my god, the real record of record.
Yes.
Record. Why do we... they're spelled the same, right?
Yes.
So,
record and record.
Why do we say them different?
Because English?
It's kind of like read and read.
Yep.
Like I read this.
And lead and lead.
Yeah.
Although people tend to use the lead as in the element for, I led somebody over there.
Yeah, and when you led someone, it's LED.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have LED lights.
Yeah.
Now, so...
True.
But, usually that's LED, all capital.
Yeah, all caps.
I really led them. I led the lights.
Oh,
the direction I wanted. Oh my gosh. English is weird.
Yeah. It's very weird. And one of the gamers I watch, she's Dutch, and she knows Japanese and English, and you can't tell that, English is a second language for her.
Really?
But then again, in Europe, they tend to teach English from a really young age, so...
Ah, right. Yeah, that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually, accents and things like that. The speaking is a lot easier when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And you can develop... It's actually weird because your mouth will develop and change.
Yeah, the shape. It's crazy. When we were talking about that in one of my classes, I don't remember which, but they're the reason that some people from foreign countries cannot pronounce certain sounds in English is because their mouth shape literally can't. Like
Yeah.
Japanese L and R, they typically say the R sound for L because they can't say the L sound. There is no L sound in Japanese, so.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, should I do an intro?
I mean, if you feel like it. And I'm wondering, why do I look like my eyes are closed when I'm not wearing makeup? That's one thing that...
Well, the shape, because you typically do like an upper shape, and yeah, that will open, it'll make your eyes look like they're more open.
Now, they're open now! Oh, that hurts.
Right?
That light! Holy crap! Y'all don't realize these lights are
they're bright. They're really bright.
And I'm like a vampire, so I feel like my eyes are literally melting when I open them that wide. The lights on. So yeah, that's... Here's a puppy! Oh, I got this from the post office.
That's like adorable.
Yeah. It's basically, hey, our postal workers keep getting attacked by dogs. So, yeah, keep your pet away from the post office, people. Don't let them just roam around outside. So, this has been our PSA. Yep. Yeah.
I have to pee again.
Oh, yay! Is it time for a snarky monologue?
Yes, it is.
Hell, I don't even know what to talk about now. You go have your pee. Pee is good for the soul. Pee is good for the body. Pee is not good for the spirit because they don't exist. Yeah! This has been my one-woman show. I hope that you're not too scared to come back to the next one. Not sure when that will be. Probably the next time. Hashtag has to pee. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I guess I can vape. Don't know any vape tricks. They come out of my nose. Look like a dragon or something. Awkward. We need the UPS guy to come back. A special package. Oonch, 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 oonch. Not really. Look, I'm gonna be honest here. I don't want to see anyone's package. Except Maddie's, because I know Maddie will use it on me, and that's exciting. But when it comes to packages just randomly sent to me, like in DMs or even on TV, like I don't want to see that shit. Nobody wants to see that. Just put it away. Just, cover your package. I don't care if it's wrapped in a bow. Just put it away. Like, schlongs are weird looking. They're just weird looking. Is it just me? Let me know in the chat if you think schlongs are weird looking. And anyway, hashtag's back, and I can stop talking about dick now.
Oh, jeez. Well, that should be interesting.
That's a schlong statement. Yeah,
this is... I have to stop after this, but I found I need a coffee. I've been having like a shit ton of sleeping issues, and if I don't have the coffee, I am not going to stay awake all day. So, but this is cup number 2. So,
cheers. Hey, Dr. Pepper.
What?
Well, by the way, we are not sponsored by Dr. Pepper, but we'd like to be.
Right? Yeah. Call me.
Yeah. Like, totally. We will shield the shit out of that.